We're going to continue the theme because, unfortunately, Hong Kong is not the only place that the Communist Chinese Party has its, Chinese Communist Party, I should say, has its eyes on, its target set on, you might say. Taiwan is also, unfortunately, in China's crosshairs. To discuss that reality and the implications for our country, as well as our vital interests in Asia, I'm very pleased to have one of our founding members, John Mills, a man who has served in and out of government in the national security space with great distinction, including as the former director of Cybersecurity Policy Strategy and International Affairs in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. John, come talk to us about how we can help preserve Taiwan's sovereignty and freedom.
Okay, and again, good morning, everyone here. Just a quick disclaimer, these are my observations and experiences here. This does not represent an official position of the U.S. government or any other entity or so. So these are just my observations and experiences here, but I got some good experiences here. On the tail end of my career, I had a great experience. It was actually kind of a 30-plus year national security career in a variety of life forms here, doing a variety of things. But one of my greatest honors was to lead the cyber bilateral relationships with a number of countries and strategic partners here. And I want to also greet, we have representatives, Roy and Raka from the Taiwan Embassy. Welcome this morning, and please. We want to make sure the government of Taiwan gets full acknowledgement and access to everyone here. So thank you for coming here. I really appreciate that. But that was one of the highlights. Was I did many things, very unique things in my career, but I really enjoyed the developing the special relationships with 17 partners. But the best one was really with Taiwan here. Now, when I ever get a portfolio or a responsibility, I do a unique thing, which you think would be done more often, but is actually not done very often here. 20 minutes? Okay. Is I actually pull a law and read the law. It's amazing. I actually read the law. Okay, so you'd think in this town that's done a lot. It actually is not, and we have a lot of bickering over things where people have actually never pulled and actually read grammatically the law here. So when I got handed this portfolio, I pulled the law and I read it here, and it was interesting because a lot of the pre-briefs I was getting as I my team started to work this portfolio here, is I said, well, there seems to be a delta, that's a technical word for difference, between the law and the way the law was being actually interpreted and implemented here. So I said, I think there perhaps is a need to kind of relook how we're handling, because I'm a good boy, I follow the law. I always follow the law here. And I think it's important to read and understand the law. And I don't think, just for a variety of reasons, from the implementation of the Taiwan Relations Act, we just kind of drifted as a national security culture, and we didn't understand the beautiful and glorious relationship we had for many years with Taiwan. And we really fell away from the spirit and intent of the law here. I just want to really quickly read three what I think are critical points. It's out of section 2 of the law here, and it's bullets 4, 5, and 6. And I think this is where, bullet 4 says, out of the law, to consider any effort to determine the future of Taiwan by other than peaceful means, including by boycotts or embargoes, we consider that a threat to peace and the security of the Western Pacific area, and of grave concern. That's important language, okay? I don't think we were fully following through on that. Bullet 5, to provide Taiwan with arms and defensive character. That's not provide Taiwan with minimally essential life support. It's to provide arms, okay? We need to provide whatever they need, okay? And 6, and this is, I think, the one word out of law is so important too, and maintain the capacity of the United States to resist any resort to force or other forms of coercion that would jeopardize the security or social or economic system of the people of Taiwan. Okay, coercion. That is unambiguously what's going on right now. Coercion, active, and we need to fight that. We need to blunt, deter, and roll that behavior back here. So the history of the Taiwan-U.S. relationship, I just kind of, I have an interesting intersection several times in my my career and life with Taiwan. Turns out my uncle of my grandfather was on Stilwell and Chiang Kai-shek's staff. So he fought for many years in the China-Burma-India theater here. So very interesting relationship there. I think I also happened to travel to Taiwan, and my first time in Taiwan was in 1981 on a merchant vessel. That's a different story for a different setting here. Okay, so I have an interesting and kind of a long history with Taiwan here. So again, the history of the Taiwan-U.S. relationship. For many years, we were hand in hand, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder. Okay, the Republic of China, Taiwan, and the U.S. It was a glorious relationship. And during my last bilat in October of 17, Lieutenant General Lee, we had a dinner function in the old American Officers Club in Taipei, and he showed me these beautiful black and white historical photos of the glorious good days. And I said, well, sir, those days are back. Those days are back. Okay, we have not forgotten, and we're gonna make things right here. So a beautiful, glorious relationship here. So going on here, so I managed the cybersecurity relationship. This was a signed agreement from a Senate-confirmed political, a senior official. It's a pretty important thing when you have a signed international agreement. So I managed that relationship between Taiwan, the Ministry of Defense, and the U.S. Department of Defense. It's a big deal. Okay, so it's an important thing here. And as I said earlier, there was really a malaise on this topic area. I literally, the first time I was handed this portfolio, it was a 10th generation copy of a mimeograph. Who remembers mimeographs? Okay. I mean, what in the world? I mean, my guidance was a 10th generation copy of a mimeograph. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I said, first of all, we're going to turn this upside down here. This is not statute here. This is interpretation of statute that has wandered for many years here. A galvanizing moment was twice overseas. I was with the former director of national intelligence, and I was able to sit down and had very lengthy, good conversations with him. And he said some things which, in the end, I just said, sir, with all due respect, that's not what the law says. Okay, again, I follow the law. The law is clear on what the spirit, intent, and letter of the law is here. And sir, with all due respect, this former DNI's interpretation of the law was way off mark. Okay, so I think that was a galvanizing moment here. And so really, I wanted to use this relationship to really live up to the spirit and letter of the law here and really transform this. Taiwan, again, a glorious history, a glorious relationship here. 24 million dual language, now declared an English-speaking country here. And it was a very interesting scenario during from about late 14 to about when I retired in January of 18. Again, managed several relationships, but there's another strategic partner in that neighborhood that speaks English. It's a declared English-speaking nation. If you understand the labyrinthian nature of the obstacle course of the MFS foreign military sales process, English proficiency is not an insignificant issue. It's a very significant issue, okay? I mean, that English proficiency is a huge issue in FMS cases, okay? And I just suggested it would be really, really helpful if like another strategic partner in that neighborhood, Taiwan was an English-speaking nation. So last year, some very, very important announcements were made by President Tsai. Taiwan is now an English-speaking nation. Okay, that went right over most people's heads. Very, very important. So, voila, they are now an English-speaking nation. Okay, thank you. And although this was the cyber relationship, the first issue is always submarines, tanks, and other things. Okay, it's not exactly core cyber, although there's some intersections. Okay, but I said, sirs, because I dealt with several lieutenant generals over my tenure, I said, I guarantee you I will work on it. I guarantee you I will work on it. And I'm a simple person, a man of my word, and we've worked on it. And M1A2s will be rolling onto the docks here pretty soon here. So I was arguing and I'm both an old armor guy and a special operations. I was both sides of the community here. M1s are ferociously, incredibly effective, both psychologically and kinetically and real. Because I was poo-pooed constantly. What in the world would Taiwan need M1s for? Okay, so very effective, very effective. I think Sun Tzu said something about shooting fish in a barrel. Okay, just imagine M1s on the banks of Taiwan here. Okay, so submarines, we're working on that. That's actually in the law, 2006 NDAA. So next slide here. Okay, we really are at a Churchillian moment. If you want to understand what's going on, please reread Churchill's first book here, The Gathering Storm on World War II, 34 to 38. We are in that period right now here. So we want to bring Taiwan into the sunlight because ambiguity to a totalitarian is a green light for adventurism here. We have to be totally unambiguous. Churchill outlines 4 specific steps where the world did nothing to stop, and they could have easily stopped German adventurism in 34 to 38. So we are in that moment. Again, words of senior officials, a great thanks. The most important thing, we're no longer invisible. Thanks for making us visible. Soft truths here, special operations, relationships are always the number one priority. Develop those relationships here. So that's important. We develop those relationships. When a friend needs a friend, relationships. So from the special operations community, it's important to really develop those relationships. Ambiguity, we need to be clear and unambiguous with China. Okay? And they need not fret. There is one China. That's the big country off to the left. We're talking about the sovereign country of Taiwan here. Okay, so we need to be clear and unambiguous here. That is a deterrence in itself here. And key, resolve deterrence and unfettered tools for deterrence, but resolve, unambiguous resolve. Okay, that is your number one deterrence point here. Resolve beats little mean green men every time. I don't know if you understand what that means. That was essentially the term coined with Putin and Ukraine, but I've dealt with those situations from El Salvador all over all over the world. It's always so. Our own revolution, how many people were on board our revolution here? It's people are fence sitters. They want to be on the winning side. Resolve beats little green men every time, okay? Ports of Indo-Pacific Command, they are the center of gravity. It's all about theater cooperation, exercises. We got Taiwan into several exercises, and we're going to continue to work on that, and foreign military sales. International partners, as part of that, we would not be a country if it wasn't for the French Navy. The French Navy just sailed a destroyer through the straits. Thank you, France. We wouldn't be a country if it wasn't for the French Navy. So, and also Canada here. So we really appreciate partnerships, international partnerships here. Silver bullet options. I won't go into a lot of detail. A lot of things are being worked to really change the dynamic with all instruments of national power to really turn this thing upside down here. So this is not just a kinetic issue. There's a number of silver bullet options here. And now that the national dialogue is on China, 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 the key tool is Navy, Navy, Navy. I'm an Army guy, but I've spent a lot of time on ships. This is a Navy and Air Force game here for kinetic deterrence here. So we need just a massive reconstitution of Navy and Air Force capabilities here. Actually, submarines. There are Chongshan Institute in Taiwan is already well on their way here, but we have a law in place. We're supposed to provide everything they need, and we need to follow through on that. Tanks, we're on check the block. Shengfang, Brave Wind 3s and 4s. Let's get those assembly lines rolling 24/7 here. And all these things. Counter influence, we used to be brilliant at that. We need to reconstitute that capability as an American national security statecraft, and we need to really step on the gas on that. New legislation, we got the Travel Act. That was something I was very, very happy with, very proud of. We got to really up the game on that too. We need new legislation here. We just talked about Hong Kong. Watch this closely here. I'm concerned now about a dry run here, because everybody's thinking a straight amphibious projection. They have not demonstrated that operational art yet. I think that'd be foolish, and I think they may think about attempting that in another direction. So just watch this place closely. I've been thinking about which direction they're going to point it in here. And then again, the key word in the law is coercion. So you want me to, that's pretty much it, Frank. I can accept questions here. Yeah, last slide, please. And this is, I kind of got a standing ovation at our last dinner here, but I told him we have a new president. It's a new time. America is back, and America's got your back here.
Cool.
So we're going to live up to that. So.